All right, trappers, get your pen and pads ready, because in this video, we're going to break down a stock that has been on fire and it's finally cooled off. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to take advantage. The stock is up more than 400% year to date and more than 15% this week alone. It's backed by the government and needs, I want you to say this, the government needs this stock, else they're going to get smoked by China. And I'm going to take you with me. We're going to break it down. We're going to get into the details. And I'm going to actually get on the chart so you can see a great stock price, an opportunity for us to strike. Now, before we get started, I need you to do something for me, man. I need you to like and I need you to subscribe to this video, because that helps the channel, man, right? Like, y'all know what we here for, man. We want to give y'all information. We need y'all to just like and subscribe so this channel can grow. Now, let's get into this. There's a problem when it comes to rare earth for America. China dominates the rare earth supply chain, not just the mining, but the refining and the processing. And that's why the U.S. government is scrambling to build its own supply chain. And that's where this company we're going to talk about today come in. It's a big dog, but it's an anchor. Now think about this. The future of AI, defense, energy, all of that runs on rare earth control. Now, if you're new to this channel, I got to break this down because I can't just think that everybody's been here for a while. Rare earth is a group of 17 minerals that power modern technology. We're talking about fighter jets. We're talking about EVs. We're talking about iPhones, semiconductors, computers, AI servers. Without them, there is no AI revolution. The company we're talking about is MP Materials, operates the Mountain Pass mine in California, the only rare earth mining processing site in the United States. That makes them the cornerstone of U.S. rare earth independence. Now, let's just break this down a little bit more. They're the only rare earth operating processing in America. Okay, let's go a little deeper with that. China controls 80% of the rare earth processing, which takes us back to the point why Donald Trump and the American government threw out that tweet last Friday, and said, I think China is being disgruntled and they trying to put the whole world in a chokehold and they trying to control this, they trying to leverage. That's what made the market sell off. Then they came back and Trump and Secretary Bresson said, hey, we're going to still sit down and talk with China. Then Trump doubled back with the soybean. All of this is around the rare earth. Now, we said this before on this channel. China and America has realized that they've reached a point where they no longer want to depend on each other for nothing. They see how this is going to go. So now everybody is trying to be dominant. Now, China does have the upper hand right here. So America, now we do have the capability of doing some things, but it's going to take a minute. And so now that barter has to take place. And so now this is why the market is volatile, because this type of energy is not conducive for people making money unless you know where the money at. Now, let's dig a little deeper. MP Materials, they have 3 divisions. The mining, which extracts the raw material, the separation, which refines it into metals that we can use, and then magnets, turning them into high performance parts for EVs, defense, and AI hardware. This is vertical integration. It means they control the whole process from dirt to data. Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever thought about how important magnets are? Now, I'm not just talking about the ones that's on your icebox. I know that's the only ones you think about. But think about this. Our computers, our phones, our cars, the machines that we use on a day-to-day basis, all of them have little bitty magnets inside of them. Robots, all of these have little bitty magnets inside of them that keep these things going. In the world that is running out of control, MP controls what the world is running on. Now, let's dig a little deep into this, because I don't want to just give you stocks. I want to give you a little information so you can strategize on the importance of why this is important, and you could do your own due diligence, because that's what I need you to do. Now, in 2024, the Department of Defense made a historic move, committing $400 million in MP Materials to strengthen America's rare earth independence. This wasn't a loan, y'all. It was an investment on national security. That's right. What was the goal behind that? They understood that by building a fully domestic supply chain, the rare earth magnets used in fighter jets, drones, radar systems, AI-controlled defense tech, yep, all these things, Palantir, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. When the Pentagon makes an investment in a company, They're not chasing no hype. They're looking for securing the future. But that's not all. Once the Pentagon comes, you know other people gonna come. So Apple filed suit by signing a long-term agreement saying, look, we're gonna use these rare earth magnets for the iPhones, the MacBooks. That's massive validation. That's a huge supply chain demand. Now let's dig a little deeper though, because it only gets better. These purchasing agreements that got locked in, that's for sure revenue. So now MP has secured a multi-year purchase agreement with major US manufacturers, including General Motors, Apple, and the Department of Defense. These agreements give them now guaranteed buyers in a volatile market. Let me just make that make sense. I don't care how volatile it is. Now they've guaranteed that. And what does Wall Street love? For sure money, for sure revenue. We call it predictable revenue, predictable cash flow, and stability, which also gives MP something real powerful. One of my favorite moats when it comes to investing in companies, pricing power. Once you have something that's really valuable, once you understand that what you have, the world needs, you now have pricing power. Also, why do they have pricing power? Because they are the only, say it again, they are the only, watch me here, operating rare earth processing company in America. They're one of one. No one else does what they do. That puts them in a league of their own. Now, that's the thing that is driving the stock to these explosive gains. So the US and China race for resources. This is important. Before we get on the chart, I got to show you this. This is bigger than just one stock. This is a global power shift, y'all. Now, here's why. China just expanded their rare earth export restrictions. That was sent Trump crazy. They tightened global supply chain. And the US can't build data centers, fighter jets, or AI chips without these materials. This is why Trump went crazy. That's why the government is fast tracking. They doubling down on companies like MP Materials, because whoever controls these resources, they really control the future. Because the AI war won't be fought on the fields and just with code, it will be fought inside the minerals. And that's why we talked about a company like USAR that exploded. And then the company did what? Came back down. I want you to understand the importance of what we're doing. I want you to understand the importance of these rare earths. And I'm not going to lie to you, y'all. This is just the beginning. So while everybody talking about AI, I need us to understand the thing. That's what I be wanting us to think about. What is the thing that, it's kind of like saying, yep, there's a gold rush going. But what do people need to get in the gold rush? They need the picks. They need the shovels. They need the little strainer things. These are the things that's needed. And that's how I want us to think. So when you thinking as an investor, you thinking about supply chain, you thinking about how great this company is, you thinking about everybody thinking on the top, but I want us to think below the surface. So here's what I want to do, y'all. Before we get any further into this, what I want to do is I want to put us on the chart. Now, as we get into the chart, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to make it high complex so nobody lost, because my goal is to make sure everybody see what's going on so everybody can execute. So let's go to the chart, y'all. All right, what we're going to do first and foremost is we're going to start off on the monthly chart so you can show you a trend that's in place. So now, this right here is the chart. This right here is the candlestick for October. This is the candlestick for September. This is the candlestick for August. And this is the candlestick for July. And last but not least, this is the candlestick for June. Now, one thing we can notice is this thing has taken off since June. June, July, August, and September, we had a doji month, which is kind of like a stalemate. It didn't go that far, and then it exploded. It exploded in October, this month alone. Remember what I said? I said in 1 week alone is up 22%, and on the year is up 400%. But let's go a little further. Let's look at the weekly. So what we see on the weekly is we see a huge gap up right here. Now, what a gap up means that there's some point right here, there's some point where it just took off. So it closed right here, and then it jumped up right here, right? Now, I also want us to see something. You have a high right here, right? That is where our all-time high took place. Let's go back to make sure we good. All right, so now I want us to get into that. So that just tells us right there, we know that the stock is overall on the uptrend. It's been building, it's been growing, right? So now I want us to get into the daily. So I want to do something right here with us right quick to show us the strength that it's been on. All right. So I want to scale us back for a second. It's gonna look a little cloudy, but I won't work with you right. I won't work with us right here. All right. Notice that here back here, I'm gonna put this line right here. Boom. It hit 82.50. So notice that after it hit 82.50 somewhere around August, let's just make sure we good so we can make sure we can track it back. Yep. Yep. And then I want it. Yeah, we can go right. We can start there. We don't got to go that far back. All right. So notice that around August, it hit 82.50. So we see that marked on our chart. We see it 82.50. Then I'm going to bring something else in on our chart. I'm going to bring our simple moving average in, and I'm going to put that to 20. And the reason why I'm going to put it at 20 is because anything above the 20 lets us know we are in a bullish trend, a bullish uptrend. So it's above the 20. So one of the things I want to look at right now is based on our 20 estimate, we are in a bullish uptrend. Now I want to show you something. Let's go back to this candle right here. We see that it had hit 82.50, then it sold off, which means it hit 82.50, which is an all-time high. And then once it hit that all-time high, what did it do? It sold off. That means it hit that, and then the seller stepped in and said, no, 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 no. You're going too high. I don't want you to go that far. And always remember, there's always a battle between the buyers and the sellers in the market. There's always a battle between the buyers and the sellers. The sellers want to push it down. The buyers want to push it up. As traders, we got to decide who is winning the war. And that's where we want to rock out at. Now, after they pushed it down, I don't want to get through all that. It pushed it down. We see the sellers pushed it down, and it came down to about $65, rose back up. Then it bottomed somewhere right here, which is about $61. So we can put something right here just to hold that there. So 61.40, because we want to look at it and say, does it come back to 61.40 at one point? Because 61.40 becomes a base, and it becomes a support for us. Now, in order for us to go back in an uptrend, to get back in the bullish momentum, we needed to overtake 82.50. So we follow it. Now we get to this candle right here, which is September 25th. Notice on September 25th, what did it do? It hit 82.50 again, really, really close to that area. Then it sold off again. Why? Because that is the area where sellers are defending. Sellers are saying, I don't want y'all to get above 82.50. If you break above 82.50, it's going to be a problem. Now notice something. It's real powerful. We come right back to 82.50 on this date, which is on a Friday, October the 10th. We see that you get what's called a wick above 82.50. Now, what this did was, watch this. I'm going to tell you something that's going to be real cool. This is called a liquidity grab. This is when the market fakes people out and it traps some people in. So notice you have this candle body. So you have this candle body right here. So this candle body is telling us this is buyers are winning. But then when you get this wick came up to 82.50, broke past it because they had orders right there. Because the market had hit 80, because the buyers had hit 82.50 a couple of times and sellers rejected it, because they know that most people think the same way. So it got to 82.50. Watch this. The big dogs let it go past 82.50, and then it took all of those orders that was sitting there because people had some stop losses right there, right? Once it got to 82.50, they took their money and then they trapped anybody that was late to the party. Because how do we know they got trapped? Because it closed back at 78.34. So if you bought it late, because it got up there, people bought it late, it trapped them. The market took their money, then took those stop losses and pushed them down. Now, here's something interesting. Over the weekend, that next Monday morning, we noticed that it opened right back. It opened high at what? 86.48. So here's what we got to do right here. We got to acknowledge that 86.48 was essential. It was a key and pivotal moment, because if they didn't have that gap up right there, what would have happened? Without that gap up, they get trapped below 82.50. So that gap up allowed them to break 82.50 and then open up where? It allowed it to open up at 86.92. Now let's talk about 86.92. So it goes to 86.92, and then that day goes all the way up to what? 98.74, creating a new all-time high. But then when it goes to 98.74, creating that all-time high, it traps those buyers in who were late to the rally, and then it closed at what? 94.99. Then the next day it does what? It gaps up again, goes up to $99, goes up to 100, comes down, and keeps those buyers. And then it comes the next day and gap down. So anybody that bought it at $100, they got trapped in. Do we understand what's going on right here? So what I want to do right now is I want to put us in a position to understand what's going on so we can win. So in order for us to do that, for me, what I want to do is I want to take us to the what? I want to take us to the 1 hour chart, because the 1 hour chart is where we can get more data, we can get more detail, and then we can execute at a high level. So let's go to the 1 hour. There we go. Now we at the 1 hour. So what I want to do now at the 1 hour is this is where we get our strike prices at. This is so we know we can get a little detail, and not just strike prices, but this so we can say, okay, I can refine where I'm gonna get in at. So the first thing I want to do on this 1 hour chart is identify that gap. Remember, we talk about that gap up on the daily. Well, we're gonna identify that gap up, because that gap up tells us that there's some orders that did not get filled, y'all. And we just call it an imbalance, right? So that tells us there's some orders that didn't get filled between what? 82, because the gap up happened overnight, there was orders that got left behind. And so the market has a good chance of saying, well, I need to come back and get those orders, right? I want to come back and get those orders, because the market always looks for new orders so that it can go one way or the other. So notice on here, we notice that it goes back up. It goes to that 100 mark and comes back down. Now, here is something real interesting. It comes down, and now it's below our what? It's below our moving average. Our SMA is below that, because the moving average is now what? 94.62. So it's below that. So that tells us that the sellers are in control, right? We've lost some momentum. And this is why I truly made this video, because now that we've sold off from that, that tells us right now that there's an opportunity for us to buy MP materials based on this cooling off point. But wait, there's more. Because of that gap, it's a good chance that it comes inside of this gap. It's a good chance that it comes inside of this gap, takes some of these orders, then does something like this and goes back to all-time high. That's a good chance that I can do that. I can come into that gap, take some of those orders, which is called liquidity, which is money, come take some of those orders and then go back up to the top. It can even touch the top of that box, get those orders and come back up. It just needs some money to go back where it won't go, right? Now, or it can do something like this. Well, Trap, why do you got that 82.50 still mark? Remember, that becomes a form of what? Support. So it can also come down to that 82.50, take those orders all the way to there, and then go back up to the top. I want us to understand that and see that. So how do we get some more information from that, Trap? Because I want you to give me a little bit more information so I can, so I can make a right move. And remember, I want you to always do your due diligence. This is not just about trading. This is about us finding great entry points on a stock that's cooling off. I always say this. We want to buy basketballs, not donuts. Basketballs bounce and go back up. Donuts fall flat. We want something that's going to bounce and go back up. And because we know the power of MP materials and what's all at stake right now, we know for a fact it's a basketball. So one of the things we're going to do to help us right here is we're going to take this Fibonacci tool. We're going to drive it right back here to this power point. So we're going to go from the all-time high of it, and we're going to put it right there to that. So this tells us that right at, notice this, right at 92.97, 92.97 is the halfway point from the all-time high to where it fell at to the top of our box. So here's what we want to know. If it falls down and it gets right back on top of 92, we know that that's a great buy for us, right? Because it's halfway, it done got back on top of that. And now you need a green candle to be on top of that to go back to all-time high. If it falls below that and goes into our box, sits on top of 82.50, we good with that. Why? Because it found support, it got some liquidity and came back up. So that's a couple things that we can look at moving forward that can tell us a lot about these stocks and what's going on. Again, I want you to do your due diligence, get on your 1 hour chart, and you can see what I see so we can get in this at a right price because we know it's going back up. I feel really good about telling us it's going back up. I just want us to be able to get in at a good price and we can understand what's going on. So again, it gets back on top of that. We ready to strike. This thing is cooled off. We like that it cooled off. And once it gets back going, we going back to all-time high. Now, I want you to understand something. Once it goes back to all-time high at 100, that becomes a resistance point. And because that becomes a powerful resistance point, that tells us it might hit that 100, fall back down, and then take back off again. Those are the type of things that happens when we looking at the chart and reading the chart, y'all. All right, let's get back into it. So here's why this matters to you and me as an investor. Because MP is not just a stock. It's positioned at the heart of 3 mega trends. That's right, mega trends. AI infrastructure. Every chip needs rare earths. Defense, modernization. The Department of Justice, they all in on it. And deglobalization. The U.S. wants domestic control. These 3 pillars become essential. And we tie that to the fact that the Pentagon has a $400 million investment. The deal with Apple, GM, and these other companies, that lets us know how important this is. And MP Materials could be the blueprint of America's next industrial boom. The world runs on rare earths. It has now came to the forefront that we all pay attention to. In America, they just hitting the restart button. So the question is, will you miss it again? Or will you be on time? Man, listen, if this video gave you value, please make sure you like and subscribe. And let us know what you feel about it. Let us know some stocks in the below that you want us to research. We may even pull a chart up on it so you can see it. That's what we want to do. We want to provide maximum information, education, and a little entertainment, man. It's your boy, the Wall Street Trapper, man. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I see y'all in the next one, man. Salute.